Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Service Express Stop Overspending on Smart Net webinar. I want to thank you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your day to join us for the next half hour or so. We're going to be talking about a number of different things here, but first I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Cody Poltrock. I'm the Quality Assurance Manager here at Service Express, and joining me and hosting the majority of this presentation is Pete Tarrin, who is our Director of Strategic Services and has been kind of overseeing and running our network services division for the past 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of things we're going to be covering today. The essentials of what we're going to be covering here are going to be, what we do as our primary leg of our business. And at Service Express, most of what we do is data center maintenance. 90% of our business is taking care of our customers through hardware maintenance and making sure that your systems are up and running the way that they're supposed to be. And of course, saving you a little bit of money at the same time. Along with that, we have a few supplementary services that we offer as well, which many of you are also probably aware of. We do some asset management and recovery, data center relocations, a bit of hardware sales, and OS support, and some other professional services as well. Just a quick overview of some of the things you can expect to see today. We're going to go and look at a few things, including why you would choose Service Express over Smart Net with Cisco. We're going to explain the life cycle of Cisco networking and the terminology used behind it in our industry. And we're going to explain our hybrid approach to maintaining the Cisco product line. Along with that, we're going to take you through evaluating your options and helping to illustrate Service Express's hybrid solution and how it might work in your data centers. And if you stick around to the end, which we hope that you do, we're going to have a Q&A session where if there's any questions that we haven't been able to answer or didn't answer to your expectations through the presentation, you'll be able to ask those. And you can ask those throughout the entire seminar. However, we won't get to those questions or answer them until the tail end. And then a few lucky winners will be winning some prizes towards the end. We'll announce who that is towards the end of this, and we'll also be soliciting for a little bit of feedback in hopes to get some critique on how we can make this presentation better or more informational for when we do these in the future. So without further ado, Pete Tarrin is going to take you through some of our SmartNet pros and cons.
Thank you, Cody, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for taking the time out of your afternoon to join us here today. We really do appreciate it. Our goal is to make this short time here worth your while, answer some questions that you may have. We're assuming that you're here because you're a current SmartNet customer and you're looking for some other options, and I really do believe that we can be helpful in sharing how we can help out and provide that maintenance for you as an alternative to SmartNet. So we're going to start here by talking about some pros and cons of using SmartNet. We're going to do the same thing a little bit later with Service Express maintenance. So starting with Cisco Smart Net, things that you can look forward to being a SmartNet customer is the expertise that you get from Cisco. They make the equipment, right? So they know how to fix it. The tax support provided by Cisco certified engineers. I do want to point out though that you would get that same level of service with Service Express. Our engineers providing tax support are also Cisco certified engineers. Next item down there is access to software. So once a piece of hardware has been released by Cisco, they periodically release some software updates that you have access to. You only have that access if you are an active Cisco SmartNet customer. And then quality parts. You expect that the replacements for hardware are of high quality, and they are. There is one misconception there with the parts that come from Cisco, and that is that all of those parts are replaced by brand new pieces of hardware. And while that could be the case in some instances, in a lot of instances, those are tested, refurbished pieces of hardware, which is also how Service Express would replace your failed hardware components. And that actually runs through Cody's lab here, Cody who started off the presentation today. So right here in our headquarters in West Michigan. But a couple of the reasons that you might be on this webinar are that there's a very high cost that comes from keeping your equipment on SmartNet that can bump up against some budgetary restraints that you may have, and we can help you with that. A lack of flexibility when it comes to your agreement. One example would be if you were to put a piece of equipment under maintenance in a multi-year agreement, and you want to take that equipment off of that agreement early, before the end of that term, you would be penalized by Cisco for that, which is different than how we do it at Service Express, where you can take any equipment off of your agreement within 30 days, no questions asked. And if you're already a current customer of Service Express and you're using us for server or storage maintenance, you're already familiar with how easy it is to add and subtract equipment from your agreement. Lastly on the list here, we have the expensive refresh cycle. So no doubt if you've been a SmartNet customer, you've been approached by your rep with Cisco saying, hey, your equipment's getting to a certain age, we recommend doing a refresh. Let's buy some new gear, out with the old and in with the new. And while that's great to have new equipment in the data center, maybe that doesn't work for you from a budgetary standpoint. Maybe you'd like to hold on to that equipment a little bit longer. And maybe you'd like to do that without paying for the high cost of SmartNet. So these are some things that we want to address moving forward with you as we talk about what we can do to offset some of those costs.
So here we actually have an interactive poll that should be popping up on your screens. We'd like to ask if you could answer this for us, what percentage of your current Cisco equipment is actively covered by SmartNet? And we're going to give you guys around 30 seconds or so to answer this, and then we'll take a look at the results.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for participating in the poll. It looks like just about half of you are saying that between 75 and 100% of your current network infrastructure is covered under Cisco Smart Net. And that is pretty on par with the customers that we've talked to historically. Few of you have very little of it that's covered already. So that's pretty interesting to see that as well. So thank you for sharing that information. So moving on here, just going to familiarize you with a couple of terms that are used by Cisco to describe where hardware is in its life cycle. You have your release date, you have the initial date that the warranty coverage would end. And then a couple that are really important for us, and that is EOSW, or end of software. And that is the date where Cisco will stop releasing software updates for that equipment. So they'll still maintain it, but they're not releasing any more updates. And the equipment is good for a very long time after that. As you know, Cisco makes a great product, and it lasts a good long time. We are going to talk about that end of software date in a little bit more detail moving forward. And then that last day of service or support. That is the last day that you could place a maintenance call on that equipment. After that, Cisco will not support that equipment anymore. And really just want to point out that we have been very successful at extending the lifetime of that equipment years beyond that last day of support because we have a very robust parts network, and with the technical support that we have, we can do a great job for you in that equipment as well. So at a certain point, you know, when you're looking at your network equipment, it comes time to make some decisions about what to do with support moving forward. Now, when you're out of warranty, we look at you having a couple different options. One would be a full refresh of that equipment. You know, get rid of the old equipment, put some new equipment in. Cisco would certainly love for you to choose that option. It is very expensive for you, but it does keep you at the latest and greatest with hardware. The other option for you would be to extend SmartNet. Okay, so you're not putting in new equipment, but you are going to maintain SmartNet on that equipment so that you can have it replaced if it breaks and so on and so forth. And really why we want to talk to you today is to discuss something that we call the hybrid approach, where you can still get great service from Cisco certified engineers and great parts from us but also saving you a ton of money in the process. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in this slide. And the hybrid approach really is just saying that it's going to be a blended coverage for your network infrastructure. We're going to talk to you about keeping some of your equipment with Cisco, typically the gear that's at the core of your network. Things like security devices, if you want to make sure that they maintain that subscription for updates. Some of your larger switches, the 7Ks and the 9Ks, things you want to make sure are up to date. If those are critical to you and need to have those updates, we would recommend keeping that equipment with Cisco. But there's going to be a good chunk of your infrastructure that is at the edge and some of the core gear where maybe they're not releasing updates anymore for that equipment. And this maybe is gear on the edge you just don't touch. A lot of our customers take the approach of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't need to update because it's working great. If you're happy to keep that equipment at that level, then that's a great option for Service Express support, because we can provide the parts and the tax support without the updates. And as we were preparing for the presentation here, we went through some customer examples and wanted to share one here with you. This is a customer we've had now for close to a year, and their initial spend, and you can see the numbers here, I'm just going to do some summarizing here, close to $40,000 a month they were spending with the network maintenance. And our price came in at just a little bit more than a quarter of that cost, with a savings of over $27,000 a month, or about 60% off of what they were currently paying. And as you can see, that number adds up to a big number, $300,000 in annual savings for this particular customer. I might add that, it wasn't just a cost thing for that customer. They're getting great service from Service Express. The replacement parts that we've used for them have worked great. They're very happy with the technical support that they're getting from our engineers. And so they're very, very happy with the support and saved a bunch of money. And the IT director here looks like a genius, because he was able to pull that off. So they're very happy, and we've been able to do this for a lot of customers. But we just chose this as an example because we're very happy to share this one. So we did some pros and cons with the Cisco support earlier. So we can do the same thing with Service Express. As we just mentioned on the previous example, we're going to save you money on what you're currently spending. We're easily 30% off of what you're currently spending. On average, we're saving customers about 50% of what they're paying for Smart Net. So that is very helpful for a lot of our customers, and we assume it would be for you too. There is a lot more flexibility from an agreement standpoint than what you would currently have with Cisco as your provider. As we mentioned, being penalized for taking equipment off of the agreement early. With Service Express, a quick email to your account executive, and that equipment is pulled off with 30-day notice, no questions asked. It's also very easy to add equipment as well. You can send the same email and say, hey, I want to take this off and I want to add these, and they take care of it for you. Very, very easy. And a lot of you are probably already experiencing the ease of that if you're already a Service Express customer, which I know we have. Most of the people attending are already using us for server and storage support. So you're already seeing what that's like. And the same thing goes for our network support. And we also talked about the refresh cycle as well and how we want to extend that out. We can extend that so you're not having to refresh on a regular basis. And it's not just a cost savings of not buying new hardware. That cost savings goes into what I would call the hidden cost of refreshing. It's more than just having equipment show up at the door. You have to dedicate resources to replacing that equipment, planning for that replacement, cleaning up any bugs or anything with the replacement. So it's more than just buying new hardware. There's a lot of extra work and expense that goes into that, and we can extend that refresh cycle for you by providing that maintenance. And the iOS updates is probably the big question that you had coming into the webinar today. It is by far the #1 question that we get asked when we talk to customers about taking over their network support. We at Service Express are not able to provide you or anyone else with updates, any kind of software updates. We're just not able to do that. Cisco is the only company that can. So no other company should be telling you that they can do it either. And while that is a limitation, that's really not the question that we want you to be asking yourself. The real question is, how much of my equipment that's already in my data center on the network side is already past that end of software date that we talked about? Because once that date has passed, they're not releasing any more updates for that equipment anyway. So at that point, the other two parts of the support were on equal footing. We have our own Cisco certified engineers that are providing the tech support. We have a great logistics team that provides very high quality parts to replace anything that fails. So really from there on, you're getting great service, but paying a whole lot less. So it really, we can make that easy for you. We've done this for a lot of customers, and we'd love to do this for you too. Is if we can get your equipment list, if you can get the serial number and the model number for the network equipment that you have in your data center, we can take that equipment, our team will run through it, and we'll give it back to you, and we'll color code it. We'll have equipment on there that's highlighted green, and that's equipment that is past that end of software date. We'll have some yellow. Those are things that are maybe just real close to being end of software, or maybe we'd have some additional questions about it. And there's going to be some red equipment on there as well. The red equipment is stuff that we know requires frequent updates, or they're devices that you've told us that are very critical to your operations, and you want to make sure that you have access to updates for that. So it's not work that you have to do. It's free of charge, and we love doing it for customers because it just makes it so easy to start making that decision about what to move to our maintenance program. And I know we've mentioned a lot of things here, so we put one page together where you can kind of compare our maintenance program for network compared to Cisco Smart Net. One thing we have not mentioned yet is an on-site engineer. A lot of the customers that we talk to do not buy the maintenance package that includes an on-site engineer from Cisco. It is more expensive to have that, where most of our customers are just having the parts shipped to the site and then they replace it themselves. Our program does include an on-site engineer, and there's no additional cost for that. It's baked right into the pricing that you'll get from your account executive. And where we've seen this be a real help for customers are customers that have multiple sites. It could be multiple sites throughout the US, it could be multiple sites internationally, where the replacement part gets sent, but then they don't have anyone there that has the capability to replace that part. So they end up flying, and maybe some of you customers are doing this already. You're flying somebody from your headquarters out to that site to do the replacement, and of course, that's time and expense that nobody likes to do. Whereas with our maintenance program, that's all included, and we replace that for you at no extra charge. We talked about tax support earlier. Both companies provide 24/7, 365 tax support from Cisco certified engineers, hardware replacement on even footing there, bug fixes and patches. Those are things that are, things that are released by Cisco, vulnerabilities, things like that. And those are generally available to anyone that logs into Cisco's site. You can download those. We don't provide those for you, but you have access to the Cisco website to download those. And we just got done talking about OS updates. We cannot provide them. Nobody but Cisco can. And with OS upgrades, while we cannot provide an OS upgrade for you either, that is something that you would be paying extra for if you had a SmartNet agreement anyway. So just a way to look at the two offerings side by side.
Okay, so at this point, we've seen the pros and cons of Cisco and Service Express. You're a little more familiar with how Cisco approaches maintenance, end of software, and support, and likely thinking about where your equipment falls in one of those three categories. So what now? What do you do next?
Yeah, so there are some questions that are going to pop up on the screen here for you to evaluate for yourself. Just some food for thought. And you guys, I'm not going to read these to you. Everybody, I'm sure, has already read through these. But really, when I think of what to do next, for me, it's grab that equipment list. Pull the list of the network equipment that's in the data center. Grab the serial number, the model number, and you can either set up a meeting to discuss it with your account executive. I'm sure they'd be happy if you just emailed that to them. They would take it, do the red, yellow, green stuff that we talked about earlier, and then set up a time to just walk through it with you. We really have taken a very consultative approach to the network equipment, and we want to do what's best for you. That's why we have some red on there. That's why we have yellow on there. We understand what is a great fit for our maintenance program, and your account executive, I'm sure, would love to go through that with you.
So we've got another interactive poll here. For this one, do you know which of your network devices are already end of software? And again, we'll give you a few seconds here to answer that one.
Okay, so again, thank you for participating in the poll. And a good number of you are aware, and this is a little bit higher than what we normally see. It's usually, I would say, a little bit less than 50% of the customers that we're running into have an idea of what's end of software and what's not. So for those of you that are in that 35%, again, I would like to offer up the free service of looking at that list for you. And it's a very quick turnaround too. It's usually 1 or 2 business days once we get that list that's turned back around to you. And that would have pricing on it as well. So great.
Okay, so now we're nearing the end of the presentation in record time, which is fantastic. We've got a Q&A section here, and we do have a few questions that rolled in. The first one I'll address directly. Tom had asked, he was here to actually listen to UCS support options. Cisco obviously does have their network offering, and they also have their UCS support that they do. And was asking essentially, do we support UCS, and how do we do it? And though we didn't address that today, we're happy to connect with you guys directly on that if you'd like to discuss that further. But the simple answer is yes, we do support UCS. And it's actually a much simpler conversation because they keep all of their software and code and all those kinds of things very open to everyone. So that's a separate conversation you can have with your account executive. The next question we have is, do you guys provide support for Cisco on international?
Yeah, I'll take that one. On the international side, we definitely have the capabilities to provide that support. We have a lot of customers already that we're doing international support for, and we're happy to see those lists as well.
The next question that came in, how fast is the turnaround for a hardware replacement?
The hardware replacement turnaround is dependent on the SLA that you sign. So we mimic the Cisco SLAs. So the 2 most popular ones being the 4-hour and the 8-hour. So the 4-hour SLA, if you sign that, we do stock the replacement parts locally, and an engineer will be on site within 4 hours with part in hand. The 8-hour SLA is the part is delivered the next business day. So that's a great question.
Cool. There's another one here that is, if we wanted to expand our current infrastructure using equipment that is end of life or end of service life, do you guys sell or provide that equipment?
So another really good question. So we do have a team dedicated to hardware sales. They've been doing it for a very long time. We help customers with solutions on the server side, the storage side, and definitely on the network side. And sometimes we're working with customers to do a solution that includes all of those things. So If you are interested in purchasing some hardware or just even want some advice on where to go with your infrastructure, please reach out to your account executive. They'll put you in touch with our hardware sales division, and we'll definitely make sure we get you taken care of.
And then the last question I've got here is, how do you show value to upper management for this type of offering?
I would really focus on a couple of things with that. One would be the cost savings, and upper management loves to see that we're doing the same thing or better and paying less. If we go back to the example, depending on the size of your environment, there could be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in annual savings there. So that's a big way to push that to upper management. The other one would be, just talking about the comparable or if not better level of service. Local dedicated field engineers, Cisco certified engineers providing the tech support. So you're really getting the same thing, but saving money at the same time.
Perfect. Now for the most fun part, the free giveaways. We randomly drew a couple of names while we're here for those of you who have attended. And the first giveaway we have is actually a radio-controlled drone, a pretty sizable one at that. And that will be going to Wendy over at Hill College. So congratulations on that.
All right, Wendy.
And we also are giving away an Amazon Alexa or Amazon Echo. And that one will be going to Tim from Kent ISD. So congratulations to you lucky winners on your goods, and you'll have someone reach out to you either later today or tomorrow morning to get those into your hands.
Well, great. Well, thank you, and congratulations to the winners. Thank you for everyone who took time out of your day. I want to let you know that there will be a very short survey that pops up at the end of the webinar here, and we would love to get your feedback. We want to make sure that we're providing a value, and if there's anything that we can be doing better to arm you with information, please let us know. You can reach out to your account executive if you have any questions, follow up with them, pull that equipment list and share that with them and let us work with you on that. And we look forward to working with you on the network maintenance side. And that is it for today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.